dear students and working accountants. Welcome to my Smart Tally Prime YouTube channel. My name is Baburao from Hyderabad. So before we enter into our topic today, an advice to you. If you all of you want to learn Tally Prime, GST, TDS, TCS, everything perfectly by the gaining expert knowledge and become expert accountant, please follow and practice all the videos in my channel in the same serial order. Numbers are given, the same serial wise order. You just follow and practice. You will gain very good knowledge and become expert accountants. Now, then, everyone visiting my video, visiting my channel, please subscribe to my channel without fail if you have already not done. Okay, and then click the bell icon and select all. You will get notification over all the videos which I upload in my channel. And please share my channel with all the other people who ever want to learn all these things. And while watching the videos, please watch every video till the end. Don't skip in the middle. If you skip in the middle, so in the later part, the actual practical work, practical working on with the Tally Prime, you will miss. So don't miss skip the video. Watch the video till the end. And after watching, if the video is good, please like my channel. And in the below the video, in the comment section, definitely without fail, please post your comment, your idea about my video. Please post the comment without fail. Okay. And now one more thing is important thing is, so all the videos in my channel are completely free forever. You can see any number of times, completely free. You can watch these videos and you can learn very well. But in addition to this, this is completely free. In addition to this, I am also taking up paid online classes, only online classes, paid classes. So if anybody is interested to join the paid classes, and you can please contact me. Send the details like your name, place, qualification, your work, everything to me. And I will talk to you and we will fix that in this month. By the end of this month, that is on 1st of July, mostly. Otherwise, if the students you get the students, even before that, I am going to start a new batch. So I will send you the information. I will talk to you and I will send you the link to join the classes before few days before the classes. So you send the details to me and register your names. Okay. Now we will enter to our class. Today, our topic is here. Normal charge mechanism versus reverse charge mechanism. That is what is meant by reverse charge mechanism. Goods and services covered under reverse charge mechanism and accounting treatment under reverse charge mechanism in Tally Prime. So what is reverse charge mechanism and what are the provisions provisions covered, goods and services covered under the RCM under section 9, and what is the accounting treatment, how to record in the books of account in the case of reverse charge mechanism. This all we will learn. In this first part, we will learn just completely theory regarding the provisions of it will take a lot of time because I am explaining in detail. So the theory part we will learn, and in the second part, we will take up and do the actual recording of the transactions. Okay. Now we will go to the theory now. Actually, so generally, so far we have learned everything. Generally, we will purchase, the seller will sell the goods and he will issue a tax invoice. Along in the invoice, he will mention the taxable value plus GST, total invoice value. The invoice he will give to the buyer means supplier means seller means supplier. Buyer is called as recipient of goods. So the recipient will pay the total amount, that is GST plus taxable value, total value. He will pay to the seller, that is the supplier, and the supplier will pay the tax component, the GST amount to the government. It is called It is called normal charge mechanism or forward charge mechanism. It is normally, it is the procedure. That is why it is called normal charge mechanism. And it is also called forward charge mechanism because the recipient is forwarding the tax to the seller, that is the supplier, and the supplier is paying the tax to the government. That is why this is also called forward charge mechanism. So normal charge or forward charge mechanism, we already know, we know everything. So far, we are recording under that scheme only. And then that is the thing. So buyer will pay plus tax, that is taxable value plus tax to the supplier, and only the tax the supplier will pay to the government. And since the amount is paid, tax is paid by the recipient to the supplier, and the seller is paying from the government, the recipient who paid the tax. So he can recover from that in the name of, it is called as ITC. So the recipient can get back that ITC from the government. So this is the normal procedure. But sometimes under the income tax, under the GST Act, there is some provision, one section, section 9. Under that section, there are two subsections, subsection 3 and subsection 4. That is under section 9, subsection 3 and subsection 4, there are some provisions, some goods and services, some specified goods and services that is listed in the section, that is called specified. Specified goods and services, the recipient of the goods or services, the recipient is buyer. The buyer of goods, service, getting service is also called buying the services. Giving service is also called sales. Sale of goods or services, purchase of goods or services. So the buyer or the recipient of the services or goods, he will not pay the tax to the supplier. He will pay only the taxable value. That means the supplier will collect only the taxable value. He will not collect the tax from the recipient, and the recipient directly pays to the government, and the recipient directly pays to the government, and he will take again, then after payment, he can take the ITC. Without payment, he cannot take. So he can take the ITC, he can claim the ITC after payment of the liability, that is payment of the tax. This is called reverse charge mechanism because the normal charge mechanism is there. This is reverse to that. That is why this is called reverse charge mechanism. See, buyer will pay to the seller minus tax. Without tax, he will pay to the buyer. Buyer will not pay to anyone, and the seller will not pay to the government. Buyer will directly pay to the government under section 9, subsection 3, and subsection 4. This is called the reverse charge mechanism. But here, under subsection 9 section, subsection 3 and 4, in subsection 3, first you will take up subsection 3, some specified goods and services. That is, there are 8 types of goods and 16 types of services are given. 8 types of goods means this cashews, raw cashews, without opening and curing, and all the raw cashews, tobacco products, and some many other products like that. This what we call silk yarn, all these things. So such products from the agriculturists and from dealers, purchasing them, the seller will have to pay that tax. That is, sorry, the recipient has to pay tax. The seller will not collect the tax in the invoice. He will issue only a bill of supply. Without tax, he will issue a bill called bill of supply. Even though he is not a composition dealer, if tax is not collected in the bill, it is called as bill of supply. So you will give only the bill of supply, or you will give the invoice also without tax. You can mention it that. You will give the invoice, and you will mention that the tax is not paid by me. Tax is payable by the recipient. Means the recipient is liable under the reverse charge mechanism. The tax is to be paid by the recipient. He will mention in the invoice, and he will not collect. The recipient has to pay the tax directly to the government, and he will get back the ITC. Okay, so that is the goods, and some services are mentioned. There are 16 types of services. All are not applicable to everyone. Only those services will be used by few people, and most common services are, there are 4 or 5 services. That is, one is transport of goods that will come to, that is called as GTA service, goods transport service. Then, and after that, legal charges means legal charges actually is not like charges. It is called actually advocate fees, and another one is security charges, and another one is renting of building by government. Government will rent the buildings to citizens. So that is also covered under this renting of buildings by government. And there are so many things, directors fees, there are a lot of things, sponsoring fees. For IPL, some sponsors will sponsor the fees, sponsor the games, and they will pay the money. On that, they have to pay the GST. Okay. So we are not bothered about that. Only these four we take it. In among these four, GST paid by under RCM by GTS. GTS service is the most important service. You will take that. And if you learn that, the other service also in the same way, only tax rate is different. Tax rate in any service, the tax rate will be 18%. Any service, tax rate is 18%, but only for the transport of goods under GTA, it is only 5%. All other cases, 18%. Okay. So the difference will be 18%. Entries, accounting, everything is same, but the rate is only 18%. That is the only difference. Everything is same. So we just will learn about the GTA only. Okay, here. GTA, GST is payable by the recipient of GTA services. Under the GTA service means transport of goods. The GST is payable by the recipient of the goods. Recipient of the service. See here, the seller, the supplier will sell the goods and send to the buyer. Okay. And then he will send that by transport. And the seller, the buyer will receive the goods. He will receive the goods. It is will be under normal mechanism. He will receive the goods. He will pay the total invoice price to the seller. But in addition to that, he is getting a bill for service also. That is the transport bill also. The transporter will also charge his charges, what is called as transport charges. So that is also called freight. So he will give the bill for freight to the recipient. Okay. So he will pay the transport charges to the transporter, bill amount to the seller. So forget about the goods. We are bothered about only transport charges. That is the GTA service. For the service, the recipient will pay the, what you call the freight. The freight charges will pay, but the freight charges will be paid by the recipient to the transporter, but the transporter will collect that freight charges only, but the transporter will not collect the GST on that. So the recipient has to pay the GST on the freight charges. Don't remember this. On the freight charges, he has to pay and get the ITC. That is why it is called reverse charge. Under the reverse charge mechanism, the recipient of service, remember that recipient of service has to pay the GST to the government directly, and then later after payment he can get it back. That is, he will get ITC also. Yeah. So GTA service, that is freight paid to GTA. Transport charges is nothing but transport charges. Freight paid to GTA. What is GTA? GTA means, one more thing is, I told you the recipient will pay the tax. Isn't it? GTA will not collect the tax. Only the recipient of the service, not goods. He may receive goods, but not that. Recipient of service will pay the recipient of service will pay the freight charges and the freight charges to the transporter, and the tax will be paid to the government. Okay, here, who is recipient? What is the recipient? See, it does not mean that recipient of goods is not the real. Sometimes the recipient of goods may not be the recipient of service. Recipient of service, because recipient of goods means the buyer. That is, the seller will send the goods, he will receive the goods, the transporter will deliver the goods to him. But recipient means, for the service means, recipient of service means the transport service. Recipient means not only the person, not the person really receiving the goods, the person who pays the freight. So the tax is paid on freight only. So the person who is paying the freight, he has to pay the GST under reverse charge mechanism. So receiver of the goods, generally the transporter will give the bill to him. He will receive the goods, take the goods, delivery of the goods, and then he will pay the freight. Okay. And sometimes he will not pay the freight. The person who is selling and sending the goods is also called as, so he is called seller and is the buyer of the goods for the goods. But depending on the transaction, so as far as the transaction, the person sending the goods, sold the goods and sending the goods is called consignor, and the person receiving the goods is called consignee. Receiver, sender. So sender means seller is sender. He is called as consignor, and the buyer means receiving the goods, receiver of the goods, called as consignee. The consignor and the consignee. So sometimes, so the consignee, receiver of goods, he will pay the freight. So he has to pay the tax also. But sometimes the sender of the goods, the consignor, may pay the tax also, pay the freight also. You will be hearing that. So to pay, paid means he already pays the amount and he will send that. The transporter will not collect anything from there. He will pay the consignor. And to pay means to be paid by the consignee. So to pay means amount is to pay paid by the consignee. So in the case of to pay, the consignee will pay the freight. In the case of paid means the consignor will pay. So if the consignor pays the freight, he has to pay the GST also under reverse charge mechanism. He will pay and take the ITC. If generally most of the cases, the receiver of the goods that will be the recipient of the service also, because he will pay mostly the recipient of the goods only, he will pay the freight also. So if he pay the freight, he has to pay the tax. That's all. So here, GST is payable by the recipient of the GST service, GTA service, transport. Who is the recipient? Recipient means the recipient is the person paying the freight. So mostly he will pay. The recipient of the goods will pay. The consignee, he will pay the freight also. So he will pay the tax also under reverse charge mechanism, under RCM. But sometimes the consignor, the sender of the goods, that is seller, he also sometimes will pay. Then he will be the recipient of the, he is paying tax. The freight means he is the recipient of the service also. Okay. Now, here, okay, I am telling you GTA service, all these things. What is meant by GTA? The meaning is there. Goods transport agency. Goods transport, any person, the transporter will transporting the goods, means that we call it, we think he is called as GTA, but not that thing. GTA means all the transporters are not called GTAs, because in our company, just besides our company, there are some autos who will send the goods to our buyer, who will send the goods by the auto. But the auto is not a GTA. It is not a goods transport agency. And there will be many lorries on the road. So we will send the goods to the road, to the lorries. So they will go take the goods and deliver. But they are not GTA. And sometimes we will have our own lorries or autos. And on our lorries, we will send the goods to the buyer and we will charge some amount in the invoice itself. Transport charges we will charge. So it is also not called as GTA. GTA means any person is not individual, anybody, either company or partnership form, whatever it may be, anybody, any person giving services in relation to transportation of goods. Transportation of goods in relation to transport, that is service by way of transportation of goods by road. Remember this, by road only. So transportation of goods by road, it means railway transport, railway, airways, waterways, they are not called as GTA. They are not called as goods transport agency, only by road. So the GTA means any person or anybody giving services in relation to transportation of goods by road. This is one condition, only by road, and issues a consignment note. Issues a, this is more important. Autos, our own lorry, and any other lorries on the road, or any autos, they are also transported by road only. Okay. But in addition to that, transportation by road and issues a consignment note. What is that consignment note? Means it is an acknowledgement, about the goods received to be transported to other place giving all the details of the transporter, I mean details of the consignor, that is person sending the goods, details of the consignee, that is person receiving the goods, bill of the invoice number of the goods, the invoice, and every details will be, and the freight charge, and what about the tax? So he will not put tax in that. He will mention tax is payable by the recipient under reverse charge. That means he will not collect anything. He will not put the tax, and he will mention that the recipient has to pay. So this is called one way. Generally, we know about that. We call it as LR, lorry receipt. So the Ramdas Transport, Navata Transport, Kranti Transport, all these are, they are all goods transport agencies, because if you do delivery of goods to be sent to other places, so they will give you a slip called as LR, lorry receipt. That is called as consignment note. The technical word is consignment note. We call it as, in our language, we call it as lorry receipt, LR. But actual name is consignment note. In Hindi, it is called as bilti. Bilti. They call as bilti, means consignment note. Only if the transport agency, the person transporting the goods by road, issues the consignment note to the sender, then only the service is called as, the person is called as GTA, Goods Transport Agency. So the freight paid to the Goods Transport Agency, GTA, only comes under the reverse charge mechanism. It comes under the reverse charge. So we sent by auto, we need not pay anything, because we don't have any RCM liability. Sent by other, some roads on the lorries on the road, so we don't have any liability under the RCM. Only if we send the goods by GTA, that is GTA transport freight is paid and GTA service is received, then only the recipient, that means paying the freight, person paying the freight, is liable to pay tax, that is GST, under reverse charge. He has to pay, and later he will get the ITC. But the rate of tax will be only 5%. 5% is the total, means in the case of local area, 2.5% CGST and 2.5% SGST. In the case of interstate, in the case of another state, then total 5% will be IGST. So that is the amount payable by the recipient of service. That is either the consignee or sometimes the consignor also. Okay. This is called as payment. And after payment, we can get the ITC. But here one thing is, the amount, that is the freight paid and the GST payable, the tax GST payable under reverse charge, should be paid in cash only. Unless you pay cash, we cannot get the ITC. Because if we suppose already if you have some ITC related to other things, that is all others are under reverse, under normal charging mechanism, that is forward charge. So it is available under the forward charging mechanism, that cannot be adjusted or set off against the liability of the RCM. RCM liability, it cannot be set off. So RTM liability is to be paid in cash. That is also paid by us. Paid by us, and then we are claiming the ITC. Here also we have to pay, and then only we have to claim. Otherwise, without payment, we cannot claim. So this ITC, RCM liability, RCM GST under RCM, GST under RCM, that's also called RCM liability, is to be paid in cash only. Okay. And then see, so this is about the thing, and we'll come to some other thing also. Okay, this is all thing about 9.3. So 9.3, 8 services, 8 goods and 8 types of goods, and 16 types of services are given. Only some 3 important we are taking up. Okay. Under 9 subsection 4, there are also some specified, that is mentioned in that section, some specified goods or services, and also in addition to that, some specified person, purchaser, that is some specified person purchases the goods or services mentioned in the section. That is some specified goods or services purchased by a specified person, then the RCM is available, will be applicable, but the purchasing person, the person who is purchasing should be registered person. Here in this case, in the case of GTA, the GTA whether registered or unregistered, registered or unregistered, no problem. And in the case of RCM, the recipient, if he is only unregistered, he don't have liabilities exempted, because if he is unregistered, he cannot pay GST to the government. So if he is unregistered recipient means either the recipient of the service means recipient of not goods, recipient of service means either the consignee if he pays the freight, and if the consignor pays the freight, then he will be the recipient of service. The recipient of service, if the recipient of service is unregistered, he cannot pay tax to government. He cannot pay GST, then it is exempt. So if the receiver of the service, recipient of the service is means which assume that he pays the freight, the person is unregistered, then there will be no tax liability, there will be no RCM. In other cases, RCM is applicable, and in this case, this is under the section 3, under section 4. So the person purchaser, buyer should be a registered person, and the seller, that is the provider, the person supplier goods or services, supplier should be unregistered. Here, the supplier GTA may be registered or unregistered, but in that case, the registered person, specified registered person, not all, some specified registered person purchasing specified goods or services from unregistered person. So seller unregistered, buyer registered. The specified goods or services, specified registered person, not all, specified registered person. That is actually it is for many years, it was actually not implemented, and after that it implemented, but now the specified goods or services and the specified registered person, only one type is mentioned in that section, that is the specified registered person is only builder. In the case of construction, only the builder is the specified registered person. If he is unregistered, no liability. If he is registered builder purchasing the goods from unregistered dealer, unregistered person, the goods is also specified, means only one goods is specified, cement. So if the builder who is registered builder purchasing cement from unregistered dealer, then he will have the liability under RCM. If he is unregistered, no liability. Purchasing from registered person, no liability. Purchasing from not cement, other than cement, other some building material, it is not cement, then also you don't have liability. Purchasing cement from unregistered person by a registered builder, that is under section 4. So that we forget. Okay. So now we take up only the GST. Okay. And in this case, in the GST, there are some provisions, and in the case of some cases, the exemptions are given. That is, GST is not applicable. Means actually the GST itself is exempted, not taxable. That's why no RCM arises. No RCM. That is here. If the GTA here, one thing, see, complete exemption is given. Exemption, no GST, no RCM. It is transportation of agricultural produce, agricultural items, transportation, food grains, including flour, fruits, pulses, rice, all these are agricultural products, and milk, organic manures, that is the fertilizers, organic fertilizers, manures, newspapers and magazines. So in the case of registered magazines, newspapers, registered under the register of newspapers. So registered newspapers, magazines, relief materials for victims of natural or man-made disasters, calamities, accidents, mishap. So if anything happens, cyclone, fire accident, anything happens, for the victims, if anyone is sending the relief material for the transportation, who will pay? The victims cannot pay. Okay, so the RCM is that is tax, completely tax, GST is exempted. So there is no RCM, and defense or military equipment, transport, government has to pay. So the government will never pay. You will ask us to pay, but they will not pay. That's why defense or military equipment, transportation. So transportation of all these are not liable to reverse charge because they are exempted from GST itself. There is no GST at all. That's why no, in the case of transportation also, there is no RCM. But and you see here and here, one more thing is, another one is, previously there was a monetary limit that is called threshold limit. So up to 750 rupees freight, there is no RCM applicable in some cases. In some cases, up to 1,500 rupees, no RCM. Above 1,500 rupees, above 750, only RCM applicable. That is when the transporter, that is the transport service, is used by many people in one vehicle. That is part load, we say. So the transporter takes many people, many persons goods in one flat. So all these persons will pay. They are called as part load. Each one will send. So for each person, the applicability is 750 rupees, up to 750, no tax, above 750 tax. If the whole vehicle carries only our goods, that is only one person, one buyer goods, only one person's goods are carried by that is the total vehicle is carried one person's goods, that is called as full load also. The total vehicle is enjoyed by us and our goods are sent. In that case, it is 1,500 rupees. So these were the limit. But now from 18/7/2022, so 2022 last year, 22 July 18th onwards, in these provisions, these limits were withdrawn. There is no limit. Even if you send 10 rupees, you pay, you have to pay RCM. That's it. So there is no limit, exemption limit yet. And one more thing is, in this case, there is an option is given to the transporter, GTA, not recipient. So the GTA, an option is given. If the GTA, he has to give undertaking, he has to give opt for that. If he wants to, he has to opt for that. He has to give the undertaking to the government, and he has to mention that in the guilty, that is in the consignment note also. That is, if he wants, he collect from the under forward charge mechanism. If we want to follow the forward charge mechanism and collect from the recipient and pay to the government like forward charge mechanism, then he has to collect 12%. If we collect 12% from the recipient of service and we pay to the government, it comes under forward charge mechanism. In such a case, the recipient will not have the RCM liability. But this is paid by him. The GTA will collect from the recipient only. That's why the 12% paid to the GTA and paid to government through him, that he can claim ITC. But under RCM, he need not pay anything. Okay, that's it. Or the transporter has the option to collect only 5% also. So under 12%, there's another condition. He's not bothered about that. Under 12%, if we collect and pay to the government, it is one option. The ITC, the recipient will not have any liability. And he can have the another option. He can collect 5% from the recipient and pay to the government. That is also under forward charge. Collecting and paying is forward charge. Under forward charge mechanism, he collect only 5%. In such a case, but the recipient also has the RCM. So I think the net is some disturbed. So I will go a little back and I will tell you. So from 18/7/2022, the new provision, the limit monetary, that is threshold limit of 750 rupees in the case of part load and 1,500 rupees in the full load. In the case of full load, that is withdrawn. So even if you pay 100 rupees also, that is liable for reverse charge. And another one is, the government has given from this date, the government has given an option to the GTA to collect 12% from the recipient and pay to the government under forward charge mechanism. Collecting and paying is forward charge. If you undertake to pay 12%, then the recipient will not have any liability, no RCM applicable. But he has another option. He can collect and pay 5% also. If he collect and pay, that is, if he opt for this 5% collecting and payment to the government, again, problem with the net. Okay. So in this case, so there is no So 1,500 rupees on 750 limit is not available. It is withdrawn. And if GE opts for the payment of 12% under forward charge mechanism, means collect from the recipient and pay to government 12%, then the recipient will not have any RCM liability. But if the transporter opts for 5% under forward charge, collecting and paying to the government, in such a case, the recipient also has to pay that is, he has the liability of RCM. He has to pay 5%, and then he will get the ITC of 10% because 5% paid to the transporter and 5% paid under RCM. Total 10%, he can get the ITC. Okay. And the thing is that in the case the recipient is unregistered, the recipient means the person paying the freight is unregistered, then it is exempted from RCM. But in the case of transporter GTA, so in the case of GTA, whether registered or unregistered, whether the transport is registered or unregistered, the RCM is applicable on the recipient because recipient is paying. So whether the transport is registered or not, that's why there's no problem. The recipient has the RCM liability. So whether the GTA is registered or unregistered, but one case that RCM is not available and an RTM is not applicable. That is, in the case of the GTA, interstate, not from other state, unregistered. Unregistered GTA from other state, interstate, unregistered GTA, then it is not applicable. I mean, GTA, GST is not applicable. GST is exempted. So no RCM. So in the case of home state, intrastate, whether registered or unregistered, RCM is applicable. In the case of interstate, only the GTA is unregistered. Now RCM is not applicable. That is no tax. If it is registered, then tax is available. So intrastate, registered, unregistered. Interstate registered, I mean RCM is applicable. Interstate unregistered dealer, that is the transporter, then GST is not applicable. So RCM is not applicable. So GTA is unregistered and interstate, then no RCM. All other GTA, RCM is applicable. So exemptions I told you already. Okay. So this is all about GTA service. All about GTA service. And in the case of other service, and one more thing is here. In the case of GTA service, so the payment of to the GTA is called as freight. Not only that, we are paying freight or transport charges to some other ways also, to the autos, to other vehicles also. But there is also the transport charges. That is why to differentiate between, for that, RCM is not applicable. For GTA, RCM is applicable. That is why when the freight paid to GTA, you open a separate account, freight paid to others, open a separate account. This is called as, open it as GTA freight. That is freight paid to GTA. Other cases, simply other freight or transport charges. Transport charges is paid to others, or we can give a other freight. And for GTA, we take it as GTA freight. So differentiate between two. GTA freight will be, the RCM will be applicable. Other freight or transport charges, GTA, RCM will not be applicable. So when you are opening, you have to open a separate account for this. Two different, otherwise you have to check up everything, every transaction you have to check up. And in the case of other services, I told you now, so everything, the procedure is the same. Procedure is the same. So legal charges means paid to lawyers or firm of lawyers only. Advocate or firm of advocates paid only, that will be, I mean, GST, I mean, RCM will be applicable, and the receiver of the service, that this person, receiver of the service must be business. Receiver means for business only. In the case of individual, if I have some property problem, I take service from the lawyer and I pay the fees. So I need not pay the RCM. I don't have liability. Only in the case of business. In the case of any business, paying the legal charges means lawyer charge, I mean payment to lawyer fees or advocate fees, then only the business has to pay, I mean RCM, under RCM 18%. For all this 18% tax, it has to pay. Okay, simply And other fees, registration fees, stamp duty, court fees, all these will not be applicable for this. They are not included in this. Only fees paid to the lawyer, or the firm of lawyers, associates, or like that. So like that only is available. This one. So this is. And the next one is security services. See here, many companies, banks, and all these, they give contract to some security organizations. They would employ some security people to the company, and they will take the contract amount from the company or bank, and they will pay salaries to their staff. I mean, to the people, they will pay the salary. They are called as security services. Suppose if you keep a security guard from as an employee, it is called salary. It is not security service. So security service organization, if you do the contract, then it is called as security service, paid security service. In that case, the person providing the service must not be a company, either individual or firm or any firm. If it is not a company, only this RCM is applicable. Only RCM is applicable if the service provider that is providing security services is an individual or firm or any other thing, except a company. If the person is giving is a company, then RCM is not applicable. And also, the services given should not be a government. If it is not a government or composite dealer. So this one, the security services are given to the government, means central government, state government, local authority, anybody given the services are given, security services are given to the government, only government or composite dealer is not applicable. If the receiver person should be other than government or composite dealer, then only the security. So giver should be not by a company, and the receiver should be other than government or composite dealer. Composition dealer for security services, for the GTI is applicable for composite dealer also. Okay. And then renting a building by government. See, government or government, state or central, local authorities, anybody, if they rent building to any citizens, they can collect only the rent, they cannot collect tax. The receiver, the tenant has to pay the tax, that is GST under reverse charging mechanism. For example, corporations, see these corporations, they build many complexes, they give rent, they give many complexes, they give all the complexes on rent to different people. And those people will pay the rent. So those people has to pay only rent to the government, and they have to pay the GST under reverse charge to the government. They are called as renting of building by the government. Okay. So these are all the provisions relating to the RTM, and we are bothered about, we are going to take up only the GST. GTA. So in this case, next one is the next part. We'll take up the thing in the next part. In the next part, practical treatment, accounting treatment under the reverse charge in the tally. In the tally frame, what is the accounting treatment for this reverse charge mechanism in tally frame? That's what we have to know. So in that case, nothing. Where we have to make some settings, that is, we have to enable some features. The only two places we have to enable the features. One is RCM applicability. It must be made applicable for the company, and enable RCM on services. That is, the RCM is paid for the services, but we are bothered about the freight, that is GTA service. So it is legal service or it is anything. So that service we open. For goods, we open stock item. For services or expenses, we open the service or expense account. So that is the account. It is not a stock item. Like that, on that account, that is the service which we receive, for that we have to make the setting. For that, only for that service, RCM is applicable. So GTA, only for GTA applicable. Other service applicable. All other services is not applicable. They will be just like day-to-day expenses. Okay. So in the service account, we have to open the account for the service. In the open service account, we have to enable the RCM, and company, for the whole company, we have to enable RCM, and for that particular service, GTA, for that we have to enable legal charges, lawyer fees, it is to be enabled. For those only, it is to be enabled. That is to be enabled in the tally. So here, this is the company creation, entries, goods and services sold. Everything will be same. Only for these services, GTA now we are taking up. Only for GTA, we have to follow the RCM and we have to make entries. So this is okay. And in this, if it is a new company, newly created, after creating the company completely and F11 features will be shown, company features will, window will come. Then there, otherwise, we have to go to F11 and everything same, like accounts, inventory, we have to go to this place, that is, sorry, goods and services tax, GST details, everything is same. Everything is same because we deal with goods, all these things. But here, additional features, enable tax liability on reverse charge. So reverse charge is to be enabled. So this is to be taken as yes, reverse charge mechanism. Under RCM reverse charge, enable the tax calculation under reverse charge. That is, so in the company, this is one. It is to be enabled for the whole company. And when you create the service, what is the service here? GST, freight paid to the GTA. So for example, I will take up, see, GTA freight, you call it as this, and GTA freight, and also it is better in brackets, you write RCM. So GTA freight comes under RCM. Suppose there are some exemptions. That is why just GTA freight RCM. In the GTA freight RCM, you will create the account. It will be legit. GTA freight means transporting the goods, material. So it will be direct expense. Take on direct expenses. So tax, GST applicable. And here, set off GST, yes, we take up. And here, you will give the HSN code for this. This is service. It is called as service accounting code. SAC. Okay, okay, okay. Then we take it as taxable. Okay, tax. We are calculating the tax. How the tax is paid? Forward charge and reverse charge. So for this service, reverse charge is applicable. So after this taxability, we have to enable that this is applicable. I mean, reverse charge is applicable here. For that, an option will be here. It is not shown. To show that option, go to F12. So already we know this HSN code, tax, different types of tax details. If they are not shown, you go to F12 and there will first one and last one. Make yes, all the details will be shown. In this case, enable reverse charge calculation. Enable reverse charge calculation. Make it yes and accept. Then here, come here. So taxability, taxable. And then is reverse charge applicable? Yes. So when you have enable that option, it will show here and you take up only 5%. Only 5. In the case of state, within the state, 2.5 and 2.5 CGST and GST. In the case of other state, IGST 5%. Yes. So that is first step I will take up. So here, this is services, so not goods, select services. So these two places in the company features, and another one is the service ledger. That is GTA freight. That is the service we are receiving. In that case, when you are creating this, in this case, set or alter GST, you have to give enable, that is calculate this one. What it is, I call it yes. Here, yes, is the reverse charge applicable or not? Is the reverse charge applicable? Yes. So that is two places only we have to do, and after that we have to make the entries. So these entries, how to make the entries, how to do, and how to pay the tax. That is, tax is payable by us. RCM tax. So how to pay the RCM tax, and all this will be. All others, goods, purchases, purchasing goods, paying to the purchase. In the case of purchasing goods, we pay to the seller will pay to the government, and in the returns, we receive the ITC for the goods. That's okay. That is different. We are bothered about the GTA service only now. So for that, we take the accounting treatment tomorrow. So this is the topic for today, and tomorrow the practical part in the GST. So I hope if you have any doubts, you can see the video again and understand well. And I hope you will understand and you will learn this very well, and you get expert knowledge and become expert accountants. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.